Hello, Carolina, and welcome to our first ever North Carolina Sports Network Short. And tonight, we're joined by John Moody, who correctly guessed the first guess for DG in last week's premiere of the David Glenn Show here on the North Carolina Sports Network. Of course, that was Carolina Hurricanes head coach Rod Brindamore. But now we have John Moody coming to us from down east in North Carolina, where the Pirates reign supreme. And John, you're a Pirate fan going back now 23 years. You're coming up on your 23rd season as a fan there at Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium.
I've seen a lot of no quarters, a lot of good ECU football in the last 22 seasons. I'm hoping for a lot more under Mike Houston. I think he's got this program heading in the right direction.
He is something else. I mean, he's gotten it done at Lenore-Rhyne, at the Citadel, at James Madison, and now at East Carolina. What do you like most about Mike Houston and the brand of football that he's brought to Pirate Nation?
Probably just the culture he's brought with the intensity that he brings. Love the defensive style, that just the mentality he's got as far as bringing the pressure. He could always bring a little more pressure, but loving just the turnaround he's had in the last 4 years. Winning the bowl game last year was a big step for this program, trying to build that culture and get the program going back in the right direction. Got a tough schedule this year, opening up in Michigan, and got a tough road game at App State. I think that'll be a big test to see, kind of a measuring stick to see where this program is now.
Well, it would be fun to see East Carolina go into Ann Arbor and get the win, like, of course, Appalachian State did back in the day. I mean, that was one of the biggest wins of all time in North Carolina college football history. But one of my favorite all-time North Carolina college football wins had to be that East Carolina Peach Bowl victory over NC State, and guys like Robert Jones and Jeff Blake. I mean, that is quintessential East Carolina football. I mean, when I think of the purple and gold, those are the guys I think of.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. That's a lot of history right there, and just that year alone having the best season in program history back then. 11-1. Teams like ECU didn't make big bowl games like the Peach Bowl back then, and for that team to have the year they had and to play NC State of all teams, in the Peach Bowl, that was big for that program. And to get the win, that's a win that fans still talk about to this day, like it happened 2 years ago, not 32 years ago.
That's exactly right. Now, one thing that is always timely, it doesn't matter what year you're talking about, John, we're talking about barbecue. And you showed me your shirt earlier this afternoon, and go ahead and show the folks right now. Look at that. You have like a history with barbecue. Tell us about your being a fan of North Carolina barbecue, and are you a cook as well?
Yeah, we're a cook. I've got a cook team called the American Piggers, and we cook in the NC Pork Council, the whole hog barbecue series that goes really all around the state, cooking at different competitions. We do it more for fun versus some folks do it 20 to 25 times a year, and that's their main hobby is whole hog cooking. But we do more 5 or 6 cook-offs a year. Really enjoy meeting different people from all over the state. Have made a lot of good relationships with different cookers over the years, and just really enjoy doing different competitions and giving back to the community, because a lot of these cook-offs are community-based, where we cook the pigs, we chop it up, or they have a chopping tent, and then they serve it to the general public to raise money for their communities.
That is awesome. And I didn't know that about you when we first met. I mean, you're here because you guessed the guest correctly, but now you even have a tie-in to our foundational partner right here on the North Carolina Sports Network, North Carolina Pork Council, and we're excited about that. But I've got to ask you now, of course, you're going to say East better than West barbecue, but what makes Eastern North Carolina barbecue the best in the world?
It's all about the vinegar. That's where the secret is. The vinegar-based sauce is, in my opinion, hands down the best barbecue sauce you can make. And whether you make it yourself, whether you go to a local restaurant here down east, they're all going to have vinegar-based sauce, and to me, that really complements the barbecue well.
It also lightens it up a little bit. I mean, I've noticed that even when I've started to smoke more pork butts, that I throw the vinegar in and I baste it about every 30 minutes in that with a little spray bottle. It really makes a difference in the tender part of the meat that comes out about 18 hours later.
It really does. Pork will hold its moisture if you don't cook it too warm well as it is. But when you go adding different injections, and if you can sauce it, that's really that'll really give you extra moisture to really play with when you cook even a whole hog or a Boston butt, any of those kind of pork, different entrees like that. You can really get some good barbecue out of anything, really.
That's the truth, and I tell you, I really don't care. I'll eat West, I'll eat East, as long as it's barbecue and it's from North Carolina. That's where I get just a very big smile on my face. But I have to ask you, and now I've lived all around the United States. I just moved back to North Carolina from Texas, and down there, they're all about cornbread and about French fries. They don't do hush puppies. I just don't understand how you don't have pups with your barbecue. Now, where have you tasted the best hush puppies in your entire life? I'll put you on the spot right there.
Man, that's a good question. I would probably say Parker's Barbecue. They've got some, in Greenville, North Carolina, they've got some really good hush puppies. I do have a good answer for that, which is, we ate at a place, and I can't remember the name, escapes me right now, but it was down in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So the low country of South Carolina. They had some of the best hush puppies I'd ever had in my life. And they were just the round hush puppies. They weren't the links. They were just round. And they were the best hush puppies I'd ever had in my life. Now that you brought it up, those were the ones.
Hush puppies can make or break a meal. They really can. I like the Barbecue Center in Lexington. The Conrad family has had that restaurant for well over 75 years, and their recipe is absolute gold. Now, before we let you go here, we're talking with John Moody. He is our first guest here on the North Carolina Sports Network short series. I have to ask you about the official sport of North Carolina, and that's NASCAR. It's the birthplace of the NASCAR stars. Who's your driver, John?
So right now, I'm kind of in between. My driver, Tony Stewart, retired a few years ago. So I told my buddy, I said, I don't want to rush getting a new driver. For me, NASCAR is probably second as far as sports goes behind ECU football. Big diehard NASCAR fan. So I don't want to rush getting a driver just to have a driver. I think Josh Berry coming up in the Xfinity Series, he's going to probably be my next driver. He's going to race with Stuart Haas Racing next year in the 4-car, taking over for Kevin Harvick next year. So he's probably going to be my driver. I like the way he races. He's a good kind of Tennessee guy. I think he's going to do good in the Cup Series. So I'm really interested to see what he's going to do next year. I think that'll be probably my successor to Tony Stewart.
I was kind of surprised that Busch Light went over to Trackhouse with their sponsorship with Ross Chastain for 2024. I wonder who Josh Berry's sponsor is going to be. Maybe it could be a barbecue restaurant, because he seems like the type of guy that would really embrace barbecue and all the fandom that comes along with it. I mean, there's nothing like going to a football game or a NASCAR race and smelling barbecue when you show up. It just puts you in the right mood, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Every time I smell charcoal, I go back to ECU football, just the tailgate in Greenville, and it takes me back to the fall of the year, and it makes you get ready for football season, that's for sure.
John, I really appreciate your engagement here with us in our first month of operation on the North Carolina Sports Network, and thank you for joining us here tonight on the debut edition of North Carolina Sports Network Shorts.